Thirsty and 30. Thirsty and 30.
Hello to our thirsty listeners. Welcome to episode 27 of Thirsty and 30, a blind leading the blind chat show on Smarter Love. I'm Shari, one half of your thirsty duo. I know we are a bit early today, so if you're watching this now or later, hello and welcome.
Yeah, so thanks for people that are tuning in and the people that will listen later on. So I'm Bea. I am also the other part of the duo. Si Georgia, bakit wala ngayon? Wala yung aso mo.
Playing. I know our third duo, tanga yung third duo. Anyway.
Okay, well, I'm super excited. I mean, every week I'm excited because I feel like my hope sa love life ko. And this one
Mhm.
in particular, I'm interested in it because it's such a hot topic with couples or people that are dating. It's the idea of money. Two reasons why. Number one, matanda na tayo, Shari, mga 30, dapat tayo nag-isip for our financial freedom. And then
Okay.
second is, of course, in personal experience, when you date someone that you don't relate money values with, it really can go south. So I'm excited two ways for ourselves. And then the second part is obviously with when we meet someone perfect for us. So
Tama.
I invited someone, who is known as FQ mom. And I just think she'd be the perfect person. Because do you listen to your mom?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Most of the
Okay.
time. Most of the time.
I pretend I know. I listen to my mom, but I don't show her I listen.
Okay.
Okay, so today I invited a mom we both need to listen to. And I call her Tita Rose, and she is an amazing author. She's done FQ and as the Nth Intelligence, as well as Racing Pinoy Boys. So I feel like there's a lot of things we can learn in terms of money and love from her. So makinig
I'm
tayo.
excited. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll bring her in. Hi!
Hello. Hi, Tita Rose.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
It is my pleasure. It's already February, so love month, ano?
Love month. So
That's why
perfect
I'm in
timing.
Fuja.
Yeah. So, Tita, we always start with an icebreaker. And today, our icebreaker is who should pay on the first date? Or should a girl pay on the first date? Why or why not?
For me, the one who asks for the date pays.
Okay. What about if a boy asks you on a date, pero sinabi niya KKB kayo nung dumating na yung bill? Is that okay or not okay?
Um, siguro kasi I'm coming from my generation, parang hindi okay sa akin. you, you ask me out and then all of a sudden you're gonna say, okay, KB tayo. But it's probably better if the one who was asked would be the one to volunteer. Uy, KKB na lang tayo.
Tama.
Ganon.
Okay.
Pero coming from my generation, parang,
Yeah. Our generation, parang,
I believe
right,
in that.
Bea?
Pero
I
marami ng
also,
ilang beses nangyari sa akin yung they invite you tapos and KKB. I was like, what? Paano naging KKB to?
as in, how did they tell you? Ganun lang, diretsahan?
I have
So go
yeah,
ahead.
go.
Go ahead.
Mine kasi was one experience lang and he was like, when the bill came, he was like, "Do we split it?" Alangan sabihin ko no. Sabi ko, sure. There was no second date when he asked. Sabi ko, busy ako.
Someone said that to you? Grabe, ah.
Yeah, do we split it? Sabi ko, okay. Ano, sabihin ko no.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. No, alam naman sabihin mo no. Pero parang
Yeah.
you didn't, baka you were so shocked. Ano? Hindi ka na nag-react ng, what? Come
Yeah,
again?
hindi na. Nagulat ako eh. First time, like, ay, okay, sige, no problem. Oh, ikaw, Bea, tell us about your experience.
Yung sa'kin, let's go on a breakfast date. And then when we first medyo late siya, and then in the end, parang sabi niya, "Do you mind if we go Dutch?" I was like, "No!" But then I didn't say that. I just said, "Sure." And then
Kasi,
didn't want to see him again.
Okay, so
kasi
that's lesson number
yeah,
one to all the listeners, viewers out there na men or even girls who ask. Parang, di
Yeah.
ba,
mm-mm.
it's just polite if you offer to pay because you
Yeah,
asked
I
me.
think, mm-mm. Agreed, I agree. Wag na kayo mag-KKB. Lalo na kapag mura lang naman yung place, okay na yun. Wait, so but we had a few questions pala for you before we go to our regular questions that we prepared from our listeners. So this one is from our first listener, and she wanted to ask, he's younger and he confessed his money issues. When we go out, he pays via credit card. Is that a red flag?
If he's able to pay his credit card in full every month, then that's fine. But
Okay.
if he is accumulating it and taking a credit card loan just to go on a date, that is a big red flag,
Okay, okay.
as in
Agree.
Thank
maroon flag.
Mm-mm.
Um, I have another one. This is another listener. She was asking if it's okay to lend romantic interest, not someone your boyfriend or your husband, money if they ask for it.
I'd rather not. I've heard a few stories actually. Parang medyo malabo na pautang naman dyan, honey.
So no, no go. Even if they, that's what I was wondering. Parang it sets the
It,
relationship
it's
or
it's a little bit tacky, and you can also consider that a red flag. Kasi parang ang labo naman, 'di ba? Uutang ka unless you are dating someone who had a really terrible emergency na, I mean, it's a matter of life and death.
hmm,
Siguro you can consider that or you can even offer that. However, if it's like the regular thing and then pautang naman diyan, jowa, parang ang labo.
Pautang naman dyan, jowa. Guys, marinig niyo yun.
did
Parang ang
anyone
Sabihin mo
labo.
na.
do that to
Ang
you
labo,
really,
ang
Tita
labo.
Rose? Meron bang like when you were younger, may humiram ba? Kasi my mamita, my grandmother and my dad's side said that sobrang turn off daw niyo yun. My lolo borrowed daw like isang piso from her, like paying for something, and it really, she almost dumped him. And she was saying that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Pero long,
It's a no-no.
long
No such
marriage naman eh.
experience, no such
Yeah.
experience. And I remember nga my mom would always tell us na when you're lending money, hindi nga pang love interest eh. When you're lending money to a friend, a close friend, or a relative especially, lend the money that you are willing to lose, even if
I
you're
I
heard
not
heard
that
that
gonna
too.
say,
piece.
even if
Yeah.
you're not gonna say na libre na to, basta it should be something that you're willing to lose so that when he pays back, you're happy pa. But and if he doesn't, it doesn't really ruin your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what she has always been telling us before. Yeah. Okay, okay.
I've heard that also. So I have another question from another listener. I want to ask a guy's financial health while we are still getting to know each other. Is it
Mm-mm.
okay, and how do I do it?
Okay. So on the first date, it's not very nice to start, do you owe anything, what is your net asset value, you cannot go on like that. But maybe I just thought of this, maybe you can say, hey, let's take the online FQ test.
I'll share it to you guys.
Diba?
You guys.
Oh, have you heard about this FQ test? You want to
Yeah.
take it together? It's online, it's free. No, parang what I'm saying is that you can, when it comes to talking about money, it's really sensitive that
Mm.
during the acquaintance period, it might not be very easy to talk about it. First date, tingin ko, no, but you just observe. What does he wear? What does he purchase? How does he order? And if you have a background of more or less how much is this person earning vis-a-vis how much that person's spending. So those are the little clues that you will have during the acquaintance period. But if you're already on your nth date, we can start talking about money already. And it's probably nice. So it's normally it's best to start with what are your goals.
Mm.
Mm.
So I want to travel. I want to go to Europe in X number of years, etc., etc. So how do you prepare for that? I want to get myself my own car, my own place. So you start
Okay.
from there instead of saying, "Oh, what is? Can I see your balance sheet?"
What's your
I want
net
net worth.
worth?
I want net
Anong
worth mo.
sweldo mo?
Yeah,
Curious lang.
that net worth thing will come when you're already more or less steady dating probably.
Yeah.
It's interesting because at
Mhm.
IFE, our company, IFE stands for Investing for Everyone. We do have clients
Yeah.
who are couples about to get married.
Mm.
So they ask us to help them, to coach them on how to go about this. Because really, if you don't enter into a prenuptial agreement when you get married, you are not just one heart and one soul, but one balance sheet. So it's really very important that you talk about it before you say I do.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that. I actually took the FQ test twice. Once was before I guessed it on on your YouTube channel, and then the second time I just wanted to understand it again. So in a way, if you do it with a partner or someone you're just dating, it's not like intrusive. Na how much do you have in your bank account?
Yes.
It's more of ano eh, it's more of the values and how the perspective of the person is on the money, and accepting that if you get a low score, going like,
Mm-mm.
no, I'm gonna get better next year, I'm gonna increase my score in this test. So I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. So
Mm.
to our viewers who are not yet familiar with the FQ test, it consists of two parts. So there's one which is the knowledge portion. So it really talks about finance ideas, concepts such as inflation, interest, etc. And then the other part is the behavior. So in that part, there's really no right and wrong answer. The correct answer is really your honest answer. And it talks about how much do you save, etc., etc. So it's really nice
Yeah.
if you get to take this up together. It's like
Yeah.
not very intrusive, but you can even set it up as a fun online activity that you're doing together.
It's a date.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah,
date idea, guys.
yeah.
Oo. It keep it spicy. No?
Bring a calculator. Joke. Hindi, joke. Wala namang calculator.
And a notebook.
Tita, okay, we're gonna go into kind of asking you questions from being single to being taken to being married, because we had an episode on money before, but it was more on I think the dating
Blending.
aspect.
Yeah, and blending your
Yeah.
finances.
And for us, it's really, we want a lifelong romance. We want it to balance in the end. And it's a lifetime to do, right? So we'll start out in the
Yeah.
single part. So my first question is, does salary matter when you're starting to date someone, or when you're swiping on a dating app? Does it matter? Let's say,
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
it's not on the profile, right? They're not gonna put I earn this unless they're
But
looking for a girlfriend on hire.
yeah, I guess like
Unless,
kung super mismatched nung salaries nyo in life, like he's
yeah.
earning 5,000 and you're earning 20,000.
That's
Mm-mm.
my
Like,
question, because
uh
if it's like someone who is, let's say, a lawyer and then a teacher, and they know that there's a big salary
gap.
difference, does it matter?
Um, strictly speaking, it's always hard kasi if you belong to two different classes, correct? Whether that's
Okay.
about
Mm,
money,
Yeah.
intellect,
Mm.
beliefs, 'di ba? Be it religious, now political, lalo na ngayon,
Mm.
right.
'di ba? It's always difficult, but it doesn't mean that it is impossible. Especially when
Mm.
it comes to salary, it's very hard to answer the question, is it okay to date someone whose salary is so the range is not the same as yours, no, but probably it's more about eventually the money values that would matter. But of course, again, we go back to who's asking for a date, and then you just feel your way through. I wonder nga right now so it's Zoom date na, di ba? Pwede nang
Mm-mm.
pwede nang hindi masyadong mag-matter yun kasi padala ka lang ng konting ano diyan, snacks diyan, and then usap-usap kayo.
Or how do you just
Chichirya. Magdala
chop
ka ng
yung chop yung
chichirya.
internet niya pangit. Mga ganun.
Ano
Yummy.
ba yan? Nag-judge tayo sa internet. Grabe.
Oo, bakit ganyan? Nawawala ka lagi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. I like that perspective. It's not about I mean, dating from very different classes is difficult, but also it's the value, the money
Mm-mm.
values that you share or you don't share. So, as a second question we have is, at what point should you talk about money when you're dating somebody new?
Yeah, so earlier we said not naman on the first date, 'di ba? But if
Mm-mm.
it's on the nth date and you feel that you're really liking this guy, it's the same thing as wanting to find out more about the person, right? So, and finance, the FQ of that person is really very important. I mean, 7 out of 10 marital problems, it's about money. So you might as well start early now that you're dating. You talk about it, and then make sure that it doesn't come off as a turn off. You talk about, as I mentioned earlier, the goals. How do you go about fulfilling all these goals? And ask if you are already into investing. Because I believe that everybody should be investing. Kaya nga, it's IFE, investing for everyone. Ano? So, on the nth day, you can already like probably share, oh, you know what? I started already my automatic investing or what have you. And
Mm.
then you can see his comfort or discomfort about the topic. You can now sense, ay nako, pareho yata kami or hindi yata kami pareho nito. And then you can gauge it from there.
But don't you think it's a nice blend though to have like one couple is more a risk taker when it comes to finances, and then you have another one who's more conservative? Doesn't that like create a good blend, or could that be too different, too
Um,
polarizing?
I think it could be a good blend, but what's important kasi is that when you talk about money, you cannot categorize one as just conservative and the others just go getter. That's why it's always important that you sit down and find out what are the parts that we can be aggressive on, what are the
Mm-mm.
parts that we have to be conservative on. That's why I really find this categorizing an investor as just you're either a risk taker or a conservative, because for you to really have a good financial plan, you really have to have both. You have to have
Okay,
the
makes sense.
conservative investments, and that would be for your emergency fund, for your monthly budget, and then you can take higher risk for those which are long term. And everybody needs to really invest long term.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, it's the same with dating. You have to, unless you're in it for just this super short term. I think when you meet someone, like time is of the essence. Even with money or love,
Mm-mm.
like you want compounding interest.
Oh, correct.
Both. Um, but I'm curious, either Rose, on spending habits. Like you were talking about the different characters of a risk taker, conservative.
Yeah.
If should you be with someone or be in a relationship with someone the same spending habits, because I've seen couples where they lie to each other. Let's say if they buy
Yeah.
OA sa Shopee and Lazada, and sometimes they hide it from their boyfriend that they bought it. What do you think of that?
Parang napanood ko 'yan dun sa Crazy Rich Asians.
Or yes, and di ba si
'Di
Heart
ba si
Evangelista, she's
Astrid
been
would
doing
hide
Yeah.
already?
yes, yes.
So, for me, if it's marriage, it has to be
Mm.
full disclosure. The only things that you can keep as secrets are if you're planning a surprise party or a surprise gift for your spouse. Those are the only things that should be kept a secret. Anything that you cannot share with your life partner, there must be something wrong. So when it comes to
Mm.
shopping, if you cannot admit that this is how much you've been spending on shopping, then there must be something wrong. That means that you are guilty of something. Or you can also say that what my spouse believes is not it doesn't align with what I believe. So that needs a sit down, usap tayo. And we cannot just go on hiding our purchases or denying this and that about money kasi puputok din yan in the end eh.
Right. I like that. I like that thought also with anything in a relationship. If you're guilty about something, that means there's something there that you are not supposed to be doing. You're guilty.
May
Right?
papaka.
Oh, meron ka tinatago. Eh, ano yun? Tell me. We have a question from one of our past guests, a fam hunter. Hi, Kimmy. Does
Hi.
money matter a lot in terms of maintaining relationships? Should both be financially okay?
Yes. It's ideal if both are financially okay. And we really have to admit it that money is really very important. Parang no matter how great your life goals are, your plans for your family, if you are having financial stress, then the energy, parang Maslow's theory yan, ano? Di ba, since it's very basic, you won't be able to give it time and attention because you have to find where to get the money for the next meal, etc., etc. That's why it's very important that we treat money like oxygen. Di ba parang if there's enough supply, we don't really think about it, di ba? That's why some couples would say, ay kami, hindi kami masyadong nagkukwentahan, hindi kami masyadong pinag-uusapan yung pera. That's fine if you have enough. But
Yeah.
that can dwindle, di ba? So it's better if you are already talking about it openly so that you know when there's still enough supply or if your oxygen tank is
Yeah.
already dwindling. Your oxygen supply is
Light
already dwindling.
lightheaded ka na pala, di mo na alam kasi nag-shopping to death na yung partner
Nagsusuffocate ka
mo.
na.
Yeah.
Tita, what were you like when you were dating your husband nung start pa lang? Paano na kayo
Okay.
nag-usap ng pera? Because you're both financial advisors, right? I wonder
Yes.
that you're both well-equipped to
Finance
deal
people.
with this.
So
Yeah.
anyway, what happened was that we were good friends. Yeah, yun nga eh.
Okay.
It was good that we started off as barkada in our first job at Far East Bank and Trust Company. That doesn't exist anymore. We were both credit analysts. So risk analysis. Marunong kaming magbasa ng balance sheet, gawa ng cash flow, etc. And then, when finally both of us became fancy free, he asked me out. And because he asked me out, he was the perfect gentleman. And ito maganda, because I would tell him already, yung mga lahat ng kaartehan ko sa buhay at the age of 23 or so, no? I would tell him, ay, gusto ko sa date ko, ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. I want my date to be on time.
Mhm.
Yung mga, lahat ng kaartehan ko, alam na niya. So when he finally asked me,
He knew.
alam
He
na
had
rin
the
niya.
list.
Oo, how to perform. Ito, a funny story to. Hindi talaga about money, but here's the deal. At that time, wala yata kaming landline pa nun or something. Baka ano, barok. Anyway, but he knew that I wanted my dates to be on time, not too early, definitely not late, but not too early. Kasi parang I felt na may mess up yung pag-arte-arte ko, putting on
Of
my
course.
makeup
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting
2 hours
ready.
early. Paano na yan?
So how does he do that? Diba? Unpredictable traffic in Manila. So he came in very early. But since he knew that I didn't like too early dates, hanap siya ng lamppost near our house within the village na. Nagdala kasi siya ng magazine. Nagbasa muna siya ng 20 minutes kasi he was 20 minutes early. So when he rang the bell, ting dong, eksakto sa oras.
Because
So
the kind of
anyway,
men we need in our lives. Ganyan dapat mga
oo.
lalaki ngayon.
Yeah,
Maghintay
dapat
kayo.
pinag-uusapan natin where to find them. You know where you can find them? You can find them among your barkada. Sometimes it's really awkward. Like when we started, super awkward kaya hiyang-hiya ang arte-arte ko noon. Ako, ay, I don't wanna be seen with you. Dalalala, ganyan-ganyan ako. Kasi group mates eh. Parang ang labo,
Yeah.
di ba? Na, uy, grabe kayo ah. But then, it's the best kasi we know each other na. Both good and bad. And we were ready for that. So anyway, first date, of course, he had to pay. And when I noticed that I also liked him na, and that's a sign for the guys out there, I would offer. I would say like,
Totoo,
Oh.
totoo.
okay, I'll
Gusto ko
take care
yan.
of the dessert. Like, 'di ba, mga arte-arte, you can go to another place. Or
Oo.
sometimes, "Uy, this one naman's on me. It's my treat." Ganyan. Dapat guys, hintayin niyo.
Oo.
Huwag niyo sabihin, "Is it okay to split the bill?" Ayoko
Like,
eh.
no, it's not. It's not, okay?
But ano, I'd like to discuss more on that. Kasi, rationally, if you think about it, we ask for a lot of equal rights, diba? Gender, parity,
Yeah.
etc.,
But
etc.
not on the
And then
bill.
here you are, ayaw mo naman magbayad. So anyway, so
I
I was
mean, gusto ko ligawan ako. Okay.
exactly that is the point of this tip that I'm gonna give you and the listeners. No matter what we say na yeah, dapat equal rights, so dapat wag masyadong paarte-arte. But I think we have to think of evolution. 'Di ba kasi the guy is the hunter, the
Yeah.
woman is the one who takes care of the children, so she could really multitask.
Mm-mm.
And the ligawan mo ako that you said, Chari, that's very important because the hunter would still want to be the hunter, not the
Mm.
one hunted. Kaya girls, you still cannot, ako personally, I still don't want you to be straightforwardly making the first move kasi you are destroying that eh. And even if society has developed in such a way that we want all of this parity,
Yeah.
evolutionarily, hindi pa.
Yeah.
So we have to put that into consideration. In fact, that's the reason why we're having a lot of problems with our diet, our physique now, because the way our body is made up, hindi siya dapat kumakain ng napakaraming yung mga yon na
Yeah.
nagiging unhealthy tayo. So, what I'm saying is, even in love, even in ligawan, there is also evolution to consider. You have
Yeah.
to still make the guy feel that he's the hunter. So, kung type niyo yung guy, inception na lang ang gamitin nyo. Di ba?
Use your wit. But
Yeah.
display in the right places.
Yes,
Yeah.
make him still be the one to ask you out, to still
Tama yan.
chase you.
Tama yan.
Yeah,
Inception.
we always talk about a girl making the first move. It's okay. It's okay. Of course, it is okay, but there is just a benefit to
Mm-mm.
being chased a little bit. I agree.
Yeah.
So, another question we have is we have feedback too.
I know.
Kanina parang
Another,
there was echo.
yeah, now it's kind of back. Hello. Okay.
There, go ahead.
So, when do you think you should start blending finances and how should you start?
Okay. So, parang continuation ng kanina. So, di ba there's dating. In fact, my husband and I, we were just boyfriend, girlfriend for 1.5 years. And then we got married na. Pretty
Oh,
short.
so
Because
fast.
of the friendship as barkada.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
'Di ba? So anyway, when we were boyfriend girlfriend already, we tried to invest together. But because we also heard a lot of horror stories about those who, let's say, I had a friend na they thought they were gonna get married kasi, so they started buying mga furniture, Betamax pa nga uso. And
Hindi
then
na
they broke
magamit.
up. So
Yeah.
how do you now divide? How do you now divide the Betamax and the other things that you bought? So we decided, let's just do it in the form of investment. And
Mm.
during our time, medyo malaki pa yung minimum requirement to be able to invest. Like what are available now in the trust department. Swerte nyo nga eh. Kasi kahit
Yeah.
1,000 pesos, pwede na eh. Yung panahon namin, hindi. So that's what we did. We invested together, but we had a columnar pad. And it was very clear. These are the contributions of Marvin. These are the contributions of Rose. And then, syempre, may corresponding interest, each one, so that in case something happens, it was neat. It was
Clear.
very easy,
Yeah.
very clear what belongs to who. So that's what we did.
Ah,
Hmm.
that's cute. Do you
That's
think
so
it's I mean,
smart. That's so
you
smart.
and your
Yeah.
husband, you work together, right? You have your own business. Do you think it's like how is it working with your spouse? Is it parang because
What
yeah.
what happened was he went to another bank already when we started dating. So we never worked in the same institution as a married couple,
Okay.
but we
Okay.
were more or less in the same circle. He was in fund management, I was in the origination investment banking. And then I stopped. Your question was, is it difficult to have to work
To
with your
be
husband?
yes. Mm-mm.
Or be in
It
the same
there
industry
are
too.
Oo.
challenges. There are challenges, especially kasi we put up a company now. However, we have our own thing eh. So hindi talaga super na we're clashing or really into each other's throats. Hindi naman. But there are challenges, and it's difficult. That's the reason I read a long time ago na naghiwalay daw si Trump and si Ivana ba was the first wife. Para
Mm-mm.
bang she ceased to be the wife as far as the Trump perspective was concerned. Okay,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
so when I talk to people who work together then and seem to be so successful at it, I ask them nga eh. And ang nakita kong medyo common denominator, they know when to say, wag na munang work ang pag-usapan. Tapos niloko ko nga siya eh. So sabi ko, para palang dapat meron kayong safe word. Di ba?
Oh yeah. Oo.
Safe word.
Pag sinabi yun, okay na, stop na.
You need an array of safe words talaga in your relationship.
Tama naman. Oh.
Yeah.
But Tita Rose, you have how many boys? Two or three?
I have 3.
Three. What have you taught them with money and dating and women? Because I feel like when I talk to Martin and he seems like he's very organized. Have you talked to them about that? Like how they're meant to approach that? Because in
Mm-mm.
your book you talk about teaching them at such a young age to invest.
Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
imagine what it's. I'm sure the girls are lucky if they meet them because it would be like, wala, ayos na yung money side.
Well, they didn't have any choice nga. Kasi
Mm.
as early as grade school, I taught them na how to do their balance sheet eh. So, but I made it naman in such a way that it was fun. And it
Yeah.
became like a contest nga eh for them na,
Mm.
oy, parang pogi points kasi as their net asset values grew, they felt that, yeah, parang nakakagwapo yun, di ba? And at the same time, when they were younger, kasi you know that money is an abstract concept. And it's not very easy to teach that to children. But the balance sheet made it more tangible for them. So, for example, they receive something, ang pao, instead of buying a gizmo, a toy, or anything, they knew that if they would invest it in shares of Jollibee or what have you, the value will increase. Unlike if they buy a toy, it's not gonna increase in value, 'di ba? Depreciation 'yan eh. So, it allowed them to appreciate that there is another use for money. It's not just for spending, but also for investing. So, it was a rule for parents out there. You have to make it as a rule. It was a rule for them to always save and invest, even with their very small allowance, because we gave allowance on the lower side. For example, at Savior, the maximum allowable allowance that they could bring was 100 a day. So that's 500 a week allowance, no? Since I gave ours on a weekly basis, we gave 100 a week. So, 20 pesos a day lang sila. But of course, they
Wow.
had baon naman. Ayoko namang
Yeah.
gutumin yung mga anak ko, no? and, and it was a rule, but
Yeah.
it was made fun. Ano? Parang game siya. That you should set aside at least 20% of your allowance. Parang pay yourself first na nila yon. They had this
Oh.
treasure box. So, doon na
Yeah.
nila nilalagay. And then, when the money gets filled up, let's say like there's 1,000 already, deposit na sa banko, and then i-invest na. So parang there was a process, there was a design so that it was easy for them to do the saving and investing on a regular basis.
I have a follow-up, Tita Rose. Sorry, I'm curious about this because I've heard a lot of mga situations where the when you bring home someone that your parents
Hmm.
don't like, but you've worked so hard to train them on, their money and their how the balance sheet. What if they brought home someone na parang high maintenance? Tataas ba yung kilay mo? Approve ka ba sa ganon or okay lang na high
Napapaisip tuloy ako kung may dinala ng high maintenance. Parang sila na rin yung nagsi-sift through eh.
Okay, so they're
Oo.
galing
And
ng
they
training.
also kinda do that na before they even introduce a girlfriend, parang nakilala mo na siya. Nakilala ko na siya in a party, and then later on, sila na. Gano'n. So, I think they were kinda following the footsteps then that Papa and I were friends
Yeah.
before we became a couple. So, parang gano'n. And, wala naman.
Okay.
Luckily, wala naman yung parang, "Ay grabe gastador." Puwede ring
Mm,
magkaiba kayo ng social status, puwedeng a lot richer yung family, but somehow if the money values are the same, you'll be
mm,
fine.
yeah, I agree with that. I think it's even the money values more than the amount. I think sometimes, like, I think when I look back at my last relationship, it wasn't the amount of money we had. It was really the how we approached money that,
Yeah.
and we were in business together. So yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead, Shari.
you brought up something about like somebody being too magastos. We actually got this question from a listener also. What if your partner is too magastos that it is hurting your ability to save as a couple? What should you do? Iwan mo na ba yung
Ayun.
asawa mo? Tama na yan.
Alam mo talagang pag-uusapan 'yan. It has to be, it has to be part of your annual goal setting. We also do that, eh, what you said, Bea, that's smart
Oh,
and
I was like,
creative. Yeah,
Shari,
and
they're impressive. Their family, like they do it in a nice place, and then they just
pero hindi
go.
naman kami nerd, ha. Parang
Hindi
we
naman
just
nerd.
kasi nga because I believe in the power of design. That's why even when they were very young siguro, even unconsciously, I was making it easier for them and for me siguro na tama yung gagawin nila. So there has to be rules that are clear to both sides. And then ito nga, sabi niya, masyadong magastos and then you're not able to fulfill your own goals na, oh, you really have to decide na kailangan pag-usapan. Sometimes naman, it's just a matter of discussing it eh. For all you know, your partner is just unaware. Nobody has talked to him or her about money, and she's just not um she doesn't know na ngayon na pala dapat magtipid para sa olden days. Yung mga ganon.
Yeah, yeah.
Really ha, when I wrote the first book. So what I wrote in the introduction of that nga is that it is not just a problem of the poor eh, na laylayan effect. Ano? Hindi eh.
Mm.
Because I personally know a lot of people who were so gainfully employed in their up to their midlife, but it's just that there was no system that would allow them to save and invest on a regular basis. And then they ended up after retirement parang wala. Or
Yeah.
lalo na yung mga iba na na-retrench or something happened along the way even before the retirement age of 60. But this is what I'm saying, and they're not necessarily the magastos ones.
Mm.
They're just the ordinary, let's say, Filipino na nagbibigay sa mga kamag-anak, 'di ba? Medyo nagso-spoil din ng anak. It's just that they failed to come up with a system that would set aside regularly, no matter what, something for their retirement. And especially in your generation, iba na. We cannot count on our retirement anymore, 'di ba?
Mm.
Imagine, wala na yung defined benefit. When we say defined benefit, yan yung parang mga panahon ng mga tatay natin na when they retire with a company, oh, you will get X amount. I think government employees still are able to receive that. Let's say 80% of your salary if you retire. with good character, etc. So that's fine, di ba? But right now, what happens, hindi na ganon. Mga private companies, they don't give that anymore. And employees, the young ones, especially you guys, you hop from one job to another, di ba? So you're not
Yeah.
able to come up with that needed tenor.
Yeah.
Di ba? So really, your retirement is your own kagagawan. You have to count on yourself na
Yeah.
how do I really save and invest for my retirement? I cannot count on SSS, GSIS, or my company anymore. It's gotta be me.
Can you count on your partner though? Like, let's say you're married or in a committed relationship, and let's say this person is gonna build a business, and so they're gonna take about 6 months to be scrapping the scraps, and you agree to support them for a certain amount of time. Is
Are you
that
talking
okay?
about a married couple already?
Um, I would say married couple, but then sometimes there are, let's say if you're married to a foreign, not married, sorry, you're with a foreigner for a long time. It's
Mm-mm.
almost like you're married, right? Sometimes.
Okay.
And they help you out. If let's say you lose your job or you're starting a business, how long is okay to support them?
My gosh. It will depend on your ability also to support
To
it. Kasi,
support, yeah.
yeah, you cannot sacrifice your own retirement for
Yeah.
somebody else's, right?
Yeah. I asked
So,
this
so
because I had a friend who's in the tech industry, and he was saying that he earns a lot of money. And if he had like a partner who needed that help, he could help her, but only for a certain period, you know.
mm-mm. So maybe that person is putting like a an end, 'di ba? There
Yeah.
has to be a termination. It should not be like what's happening to a lot of our OFWs, yung tuloy-tuloy lang na
Yeah.
financial dependence. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's always in consideration to what you can afford. That will
Afford.
not
Okay.
put your own retirement money
Can you imagine the person you're supporting
peril.
while they're building their business? Nagko-shopping lang araw-araw. What's the steak every day. I'm like, you're supporting.
Oh,
Ay.
uso naman 'yan sa mga ano, sometimes kids would now give money to their parents, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
And I know someone who really took it negatively rin kasi she was giving to her in-laws because that's what the husband wanted to do, no? So she
Yeah.
had to budget for it. So sabi nga
Mm.
niya, yung mga anak ko, SM lang ang mga damit nila. And then
Mm.
I see my mother-in-law giving it to my sister-in-law na kung makabili daw ng damit sa Rustans. Sabi niya, makataruhan ba yon? Siyempre hindi, di ba? So again, we have to be careful sa parents din yon eh. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, most of the time, parents kasi want to equalize the financial standing of their children. And they,
Yes.
they will
I heard
never
that
be
as well too.
equal.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is that when you get from the ones who are doing well, parang ginaganyan mo, okay naman yon in theory. But if you
Yeah.
overdo it, it's like you're penalizing the one who is doing well and rewarding the one who isn't.
Rustans talaga eh. Mahal kaya dun.
Oo, yun yung kwento niya sa akin no'n. Ako SM yung mga anak ko, tapos yung mga anak nung sister-in-law ko kamusta sa mga puwede ba yun? Ay naku.
I think you're in mute.
Sorry, here's another question that we got. What if in love ka na with somebody, and then you find out na he or she is in a lot of debt? Should you end this relationship before you even get married?
Ay, huwag mo naman i-end. In love na in love ka, 'di ba? End the debt problem, but not the
Okay.
relationship. And that's quite challenging, ha? Because a
Mm-mm.
debt problem, it has a lot of causes, eh. Yung, again, the lack of understanding of how money works.
Mm-mm.
And it's difficult, eh, especially if the debts there are yung mga high interest, let's say credit cards, at saka kung ano-ano pang mga robo lending. Because if you allow it to just stay there, that problem, they will just manganganak lang yan ng interest and penalty. So you really have to help your loved one. Sabi mo, in love na in love ka na eh. You really have to help her get out of that debt problem. So there are two ways. Generally speaking, there are two ways to retire your debt. The first one, syempre, the rational one, is to pay off those with higher interest first, diba? So you save on interest cost. And then the other one is very psychological. Some would like to retire the small amounts of debts if they, for example, they have several debts, so that there's like a psychological effect na, whoops, meron na akong nabayaran na debt. You are able to tick off something
Mm.
from your long list of pinagkakautangan. So whatever works for you, for as long as you are able to retire all these debts and then now improve your spending behavior. What you don't have, you shouldn't use to spend frivolously or kahit in general, don't spend what you don't own. The only,
True.
di ba sabi nga there's a good debt and a bad debt. Mortgage lang siguro yung, mangutang ka na kasi there are only a few people naman here who can buy a house and lot for cash, di ba? Cold cash.
Yeah.
But the other things, like even your vacation, yung mga shopping mo, damit, or even your cell phone for that matter, ipunin mo muna bago mo
For you.
bilhin. Mm-mm.
Okay, how about,
True.
I mean, we're jumping a little bit, but I'm curious about rings because there's such
Oh!
a high expectation on
Gosh,
Men.
getting that engagement ring for someone. And
grabe.
some women, they really, how do they see like their value encompasses that ring. And I don't know what guys' arrangements are at the moment, but like some rings are expensive. And so
Hmm.
they either pay for it on an
Shy tuloy
installment
ako
basis.
Kasi you have a very nice ring nga, I can see.
Tita Rose, what's
Yeah.
your perspective on engagement rings? Especially since your children are all men, they're gonna
Oh, I
propose
have
to.
my second son is engaged.
Wow,
Yeah, what's your
congratulations.
advice to them on rings?
Okay, so this is he knew kasi that the family tradition is for you to spend for your own wedding, for the engagement ring of your
Okay.
fiancé to be.
Yeah.
So he had to really save up for it. He really did. This is Enrique.
Mm.
Hi, Enrique. You're watching right now.
Hi,
Hi.
Enrique, congrats.
So he
Wow.
really saved up. Tapos ngayon ano, parang mas malaki yung anong tawag mo, expectation. Like in my case, wala naman akong expectation. So when my boyfriend then gave me a small stone na engagement ring, I'm happy na ako noon. Pero ngayon
Yeah.
parang there has
It's
to
so
be a
intense at the moment, right?
yeah. It has
Yes.
to be at least 1 carat ba yan? Or ano, yung mga ganon, ano? So, again, depending on what you can afford.
Yeah.
So, if the person that you are asking to marry you,
Mm.
siguro has that expectation, you have to figure out, can I afford this? And if you
Mm.
can, go ahead. Buy that nice rock. Basta, wag din papangutang.
Yeah, I've heard that some people even finance the payment for their rings, yung mga ganun. I'm like, for what and why?
Parang
Parang
hindi. Parang
if you
hindi.
if you can only afford the 1 carat and your girlfriend is gonna say no if you give her a like because she wants a three, that's not the girl for you. Wag na yun.
Correct,
I heard
correct.
one boodle, like a really bad love boodle, where
Mm.
basically the girl was of a higher class and then the guy was in a lower class, and they wanted to get married, and the girl has like a jewelry shop. So the guy, I think, only had a budget of like 50,000 pesos or something for a
For a
ring.
ring.
So different
Maliit yun.
class.
Oo, malit nga
Different
yun eh.
class.
Ano nabili niya?
But I think the mom of the girl just decided to give him like a 1 carat or something. Like gave a
Ng
substantial ring for
mom
that
of the
budget.
girl.
Yeah, and
Ah,
then they
kunyari
parang
naka-sale, gano'n?
parang ganon. And then when they were about to get married, she found out that he was cheating on her with someone else.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wait,
he
wait,
she
wait.
canceled the
The
she
mother
canceled the wedding. Yeah.
The
the
mother found out or the
mother-in-law, the
girlfriend?
mother-in-law gave
No,
him a ring and he was cheating?
the girl found out the guy was cheating on her with someone else, some other girl.
So
Okay.
I
what
don't
did
know
she
who
do?
it was. So she canceled the wedding and she told her mom that I don't want to get married to this guy. And then after the guy was asking for the ring back.
Ang kapal ng
But
mukha
buti
mo.
na lang, the girl threw it yata in the mom's room and the mom kept it. So if, it's a normal girl, right, na sobrang in love or galit, she probably would have given the ring back. But the
Nabudol
fact that,
yung nanay. Sana
yeah,
sabi niya, "Eto ang 50,000 mo."
Oo, here's the 50, bye. Oh my
Oh, 'di
gosh, I
ba?
I
want to find out
know.
sino yan, okay yung story na yan,
Oo, cute
Yeah, I
yun.
don't
I like
think
that
we got that in the
story.
show, but I feel like it would be hard to get in
Yeah,
the show.
dapat sabi
Okay.
Um,
"Can you just bring your receipt and just we will just refund you."
Reimburse you what
ang
you
kapal naman nun, grabe. Oh my gosh.
magkikitaan pa yung ring eh, like from 50,000. Oh, sige.
Mabebenta pa niya yan, madoble pa niya yung pera niya. Oh my
Oo nga,
God.
binigyan ng 1
Correct.
carat for 50,000 ano ba yan?
Oh,
If you're
grabe.
feeling like you have a problem, that is not a problem. This is a
No, this
problem.
one, nabudol si girl. Oh, like, so how about, okay, speaking of mga mismatched budgets and finances, what about like you're planning a wedding? This is it, pansit, you found the one.
Oh, yeah.
Pero hindi kayo match ng projected budget niyo for a wedding. Guy wants it super grand, si girl wants a simple
Oh,
whatever
it's
thing.
normally the other way around.
I know, I'm trying to be pro women here. So, what if ganun yung situation?
Okay, okay.
How do you what's your workaround? Some people also like to loan a lot of money for their weddings. What's your
That's
advice?
ridiculous. May utang ka pa pagkatapos
Yeah.
ng party.
Oo, alam mo, well, to start off, mahirap talaga, to plan a wedding, especially if you allow other people to have a say. That's why the advantage of you spending for your own wedding, like my son is spending for his own wedding, um, it's their call, 'di ba? So it's his and the fiance's call, and we just have to respect that. So we are telling him na ganito yung style kasi when I got married, when Marvin and I got married. So, in fact, the family, the parents of my husband, were not expecting him to pay for the wedding. So parang they were ready on the draw. But then, ewan ko, ma-pride yung asawa ko. Sabi niya, no, I'm gonna spend for my own wedding. I saved up for it. So, basta we will just have the wedding that we can afford. Ang nangyari, because my mother-in-law and even my own parents, they had also a list na wala naman dun sa listahan namin. So the arrangement was, if the people that they'd like to invite are not in our list, they paid for the, alam mo yung per head cost. Yan. So parang that's what we're trying to do also now. And of course, depending on what you want then the size of the wedding, especially right now, no? Pandemic, you cannot invite everyone even if you can afford and you would like to. So ganon. Grand weddings are really grand now. I mean, exage, like
Yeah,
1 million for flowers, ano ba yan, 'di ba? Yung mga ganon.
it's ridiculous.
It's
It,
crazy.
it's ridiculous and you really have to sit down, and it is the first event in your life.
Mm.
Maybe it's good if you start off at the right footing na hindi kayo spending more than you can afford.
Yeah.
And I feel like the pressure to make a grand wedding also comes from like social media and your friends. They're all like, you should do this, you should do that. Eh, what
Mm-mm.
if gusto ko lang talaga maliit? And then all the
Yeah.
pressures come from all the sides of the
Yeah.
world. Love. I mean, baka I'm just talking kasi I'm not gonna get married yet. So parang I'm like, I don't care. Pero
I'm
when I'm
hopeful
married,
that you will get married soon.
wala, give me a 10 million budget lang.
Well, for someone pala, ako I love weddings eh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
me
is what
too.
I also tell young couples. Just
Mm.
spend for the wedding that you can afford right now. And then, like ako, guess how many times you've gotten married? Ang OA ko.
How
How
many?
many the-
Sige, mag-guess kayo while I count.
3
uh,
times.
10 times.
Naka-6 na kami.
What?
Mm,
Ang
Grabe,
cute.
no? So, the first wedding was in 1989, the original wedding. And then on our 10th, hindi pa uso nagte-10th noon, pero feel ko lang. Sabi ko, so nag-exchange vows with gown. Nung 10th,
Oh.
20th also, 25th, 30th. Tapos sinubukan ko lang pandemic wedding.
Oh,
Pero
Pandemic
ano lang
talaga.
yun,
Gusto mo rin
November.
magka-wedding.
So,
I
open
think that's
wedding.
super cute.
what I'm telling them is, like, for example, what we spent on our silver wedding was bigger significantly than our original wedding because we could afford na. And then I also tell them na, if it's your silver wedding, it's gonna be your guests na lang na gusto nyo.
Oh,
Hindi na
True.
yung mga guests ng mga tatay-nanay na wala naman,
yeah,
di nyo
yeah.
naman kilala, di ba? Kasi it's
Yeah.
also their party eh. So you will
Yeah.
enjoy it more. So dun kayo, kung ano na yung afford nyo, dun kayo gumastos. And, it's so nice because what it has done to us, pareho kaming, hopeless romantic. Nung una, yung 10th anniversary, siya shy-shy pa yung asawa ko eh. Pero nung mga kalaunan, excited na siya, ganado na siya. Sabi niya, dapat may ilaw ka dito. Ganun. But you
How
know what it
cute.
does? Parang you are hitting a refresh button in your
Mm.
marriage. Parang, oh my gosh, oo nga, kaya ko 'to pinakasalan, napaka-lovable niya, yung mga gano'n.
I love
Gagayahin
that.
ko yan.
I
Gagayahin ko
love
yan.
that. Natuwa ako sa ganun. But
I am
I always
gonna.
joke with my dad na parang I'm only gonna have 10 people in my wedding. And he always tells me, kasama ba yung groom dyan? Wala ka ng space for the groom. But I love the idea of celebrating your milestones, or at least like celebrating what you can. So, yan, gagayarin ko rin.
I
Talk
like
sa
it yung hitting
future
a,
partner
it
ko.
is like hitting a refresh button in your
Yeah.
marriage. So para kayong
Yeah.
honeymoon stage again. I like it.
Correct.
Gagayahin
And
ko
even
talaga
for the
yun.
children, because my bunso at the time, he was still in school. I was so touched when there was sharing daw. He had, ewan ko kung anong group niya to, sa CADS yata, the Company of Ateneo Dancers. And then what he shared, para bang milestones in your life, he mentioned na the 25th wedding anniversary of my parents. Para bang,
Mm.
I felt that I was blessed to be in that kind of blah, blah, blah. So parang natuwa ako na, oh my gosh, hindi lang pala yung kaartehan ko yung na-fulfill dito.
Yeah.
It
That's
also affects the children somehow.
Oh,
and it's a good
wow.
example for kids to see a thriving, successful marriage.
Okay, 6 weddings. 6 weddings for me.
Mm-mm. Ako rin.
Whoever is going to date me, good luck to you.
Kahit
Six
small
weddings.
na, kung simple lang, 'di ba? Kung ano
Yeah,
yung
yeah, I agree. Sige, sa Jollibee. Kita tayo sa
Mm.
Jollibee. Drive through. Okay, so I am actually this is a hot topic, and I saw it in I don't know if it was New York Times or a news platform, and it was talking about in marriage there is infidelity sometimes, but not just the romantic or infidelity; it's the financial infidelity. Is it a red flag for you, Tita Rose, when a partner hides huge amounts of money from the other partner? And why
Mm.
would someone do that? Like, what are the motivations of hiding such huge sums of money?
Yeah, to me, I don't subscribe to that, yung pera mo, pera ko, no? But really nga I said, unless you sign a prenuptial agreement, what
Mm,
is yours is mine. What is mine is yours. Merged talaga dapat yan. So definitely a red flag. If one partner is hiding
mm,
sums of money from the other, bakit siya nag-hide, di ba?
yeah,
And even to those who are not deliberately hiding, like let's say there are some wives who would say, ay, bahala na siya dyan kasi I don't know naman anything about investment, etc. No, no, no. You have to have your own conjugal balance sheet, your married life
yeah,
balance sheet. Kasi what if something happens to that party who just he's the only one who's taking care of the money? Wala, di
mm,
ba? I mean, saan ka
yeah,
pupulutin nun? And then there
mm,
could be some properties na baka co-owned niya pala with his parents or some siblings or whoever. Both of you should really know that. Kasi somebody might just claim, oh, hindi, akin talaga to ha. But you're clueless, you don't know anything. So
yeah.
really, to me nga, as we said earlier, you shouldn't hide anything. Yung mga secret
Mm.
lang na pampakyut ang pwedeng i-hide from your spouse.
Like, I'm planning our
Pampakyut.
third wedding surprise. Mga ganun.
Yeah, di ba?
Third wedding for the year. But like it's
Sarapon.
true though that some wives or some women they don't know at all. Like I had a
Mm-mm.
friend, she was way older than me, but she was in an arranged Indian marriage. And when she met her husband, like he handled all the money. She had no idea. And when she finally retired from her corporate job, and she got that sum of money, from that job, she took it to travel, and then she started planning for her what's that's the fire financial independence, retire early kind of
Mm,
idea. And
mm,
at that age, I think she was 50 or something, or 40
okay.
plus, and no idea how her husband managed bills, paying anything, and it's a scary thing not to know, I think.
Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah,
And should not be the case.
yeah.
Never,
No.
never.
I think you're in mute.
So they talked about what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. So when you're married, what is, I guess, the most basic way that you can organize and blend your finances as a married couple?
Okay. So two general types again. One is like what we do, which is really merged. Everything is merged. Both of us know where all the assets are, and it's just a common pool. So all the expenses comes from the common pool. But there are those who would always want pa rin to have a control of their own,
Mm.
and normally they would have assigned expenses to take care of. So whatever works for you, because I do know some friends then that works for them. But for us kasi parang it was more efficient. But we also have our own fun fund. Na hindi naman kailangan lahat na lang ng ay gusto ko magpa-massage dun sa spa na ganyan. Hindi mo na kailangan ipaalam yung mga ganun, di ba? Meron kayong fun
That's
fund
so
talaga.
hard. Yeah.
And as long as you para bang are okay with each other's spending habits, parang okay lang siya. Now that we are in our 50s, oh, my husband pala turned 60 na last year.
Wow.
When you're able to really design something during your early years in your married life, when you reach this age, parang mas ano na kayo, kampante na kayo na you're not so much so concerned about, "Ay naku, dapat ito lang ang gastos." Hindi na. Kasi one,
Trust.
you've already accumulated and allowed it to also earn more. And second, hindi ka na rin nasanay na masyado kang gastador. Na everything you earn, kailangan gastusin agad. Hindi. If nasanay
Mm-mm.
ka that you're always setting aside something, it's gonna be automatic. It's such a nice design that I hope everyone would really put into place. It's so nice. Talagang automatic na lang siya.
Yeah.
Lalaki at lalaki na lang. And then you just get what you need and what you
Yeah.
want. Basta there's a
I love
system that's
that.
going on.
It's
Okay.
nice to just do that. I'm feeling ko na to. Get married 6 times, set up your automatic system.
Find the right guys among your barkada.
Trust your partner enough na you're sure hindi niya gagastos and iwawaldas yung pera niyo. Okay, I really like it. I like this whole
Yeah.
situation.
Gosh. Inspire naman ako.
Mm-mm. So thank you so much. I think that's our last question. Do you have
Yep.
any more follow-up questions, Bea?
Oh, I'm curious about this because you posted this caption on our Instagram. Money can't buy love, but it can. What can it do for a couple or someone dating?
Mm.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Tita
Ah,
Rose.
money can't buy you love, but it
But
can
it can.
make you a more loving couple. Oh, di
Ah,
ba?
Oh yeah.
Mag-ipon na nga
Okay,
ako.
yan, okay. Yan. Ah, 8 weddings, 8 weddings.
You're
Eight
gonna buy
weddings.
a wedding fund. I can feel it. You're gonna tell your partner, "Oy,
I know.
mag-ipon ka na. Every month, lagay ka ng."
Magka-set aside tayo like 1,000 a week for our wedding in the
Thank you.
future.
Thank you so much, Tita Rose. I think before we wrap up, we usually have our conclusions or takeaways from the session. So, Sherry, I'll start off with you. What did you learn?
Um, what did I learn? I mean, I learned a lot about the advice about finance, and I think one of the core lessons I learned is you have to build a trusting relationship with your partner, especially when it comes to finances. I think it's very important. But I think my favorite is when you get married again, it's like clicking, like or hitting a refresh button in your marriage and in your life. And I will take that lesson and apply it to my future. How about you, Bea?
Kawawa naman. Get to the first wedding first. That's
I
all
mean,
I'm
Like
gonna
I said,
say.
it doesn't have to be a big wedding, like what Tita said. It can be the smallest wedding of just you, your kids, your dog. It's just hitting a nice refresh button. But of course, you have to have the finances to back it. Yeah.
Oh my God, tuwang-tuwa na your eyes look like it's like planning all the different weddings you're gonna have at different ages. But I guess for me, like my biggest takeaway is like once you start resolving this and talking about it in the beginning of your dating life or when you're single, and you set up a good system, you will get to a point where when you're 50 and you have this amazing love, it doesn't have to be stressful because
Mm-mm.
there's nothing like harassing your partner na kailangan na natin bayaran tong bill na to or
Oh my
mapuputulan
God.
tayo ng kuryente or ano mo yun, like na-max ko yung credit card ko. You know, like let's avoid those, let's have safe words throughout from the start to the end.
Yeah.
So
In
I think that's it
everything.
for me. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Money is an
Yeah.
exciting opportunity.
True.
I'm
And it
up
doesn't
with that.
have to be a very stressful conversation. It can be light and fun like this one. So thank you so
Yes.
much, Tita Rose. How should our listeners find you online?
Yeah, so they can come and subscribe to my website. It's called fqmom.com. Take the FQ test already, whether you're still single or you already have your partner. And then you can also, well, watch my Kumu show. It's every Thursday at 11 a.m. Money Lessons with FQ Mom. And I also have a podcast. It comes out every Wednesday. It's today. And an article on philstar.com, also on Instagram as the FQ Mom. So I have mayroon ako kaninang naisip na parting message for all of you. Okay. So here it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's about love, ano? They say nga it's the month of, ano yun? Feb-ibig. Basta may badi-badi na arte.
Feb-ibig.
Pag-ibig. So ko
So
yan,
if
diba?
you and your partner are able to really thresh out your money matters, your FQ, it will be so much easier to stay in love.
Mhm.
Promise. I've been married for 30, nalilito na ako. Dahil beses na ako kinasal. Dahil 32 years.
Puro too much refresh button, di na
Yeah.
mabilang. I love it.
We've been married for 32 years. Sa awa ng Diyos, so in love pa rin. And it's even deeper than how it was the first time we said I do in 1989. And I would say that it's probably helped by the fact na hindi kami nagtataguan ng pera at hindi namin masyadong pinoproblema. Kasi inayos na namin early on in our relationship.
I like it.
Kinilig
That's
ka
a
naman.
good message.
Kahit wala pa yung husband mo dito. Usually, pag nandito yung couple, hindi na ako nakakasalita.
Oo.
Nakatulala na lang ako.
I know. I
But
like
yeah.
it. Nice ending message. Tatap.
Yeah.
6 weddings. Talk about it early. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, go
But
on,
yeah,
Bea.
thank you so much for indulging us, Tita Rose. And I really love your message, and I think this gives a lot of hope for women there, and I hope even the men. I think we have a small, maybe 25% of our listeners are men that are
Yeah.
curious about how to please a woman. So please take note of this. And then, guys, so thank you again for listening to this episode. Please do send your love problems or milestones to our Instagram or website, thirstyand30.club. To keep up to date as well, I send out a newsletter every Monday. It only takes 5 minutes to 6 minutes to read. It's called thirsty30.substack.com. And what we're giving you is a chance to have happier and healthier relationships. So thank you so much. And we'll keep you posted on our topic next week.
Next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you again, Tita Rose. We enjoyed this conversation. Stay thirsty, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thirsty and 30.